All right. I think we've got it fixed. You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. And a sigh is just a sigh. Looks like we are live. Good deal. Hello, Internet. It is Jack Heald, the dad you wish you had, for Thursday, what is today, 20th? 19th of March. It's amazing that I can't keep track of it all. I blame the coronavirus. I had some audio problems there earlier this afternoon. It took me a while to get it all figured out. Sometimes Windows just has a mind of its own, right? Before we get into today's topic, which is to train principles, not behavior for your children, we're going to stop a moment and we are going to drink a toast to the beauty of this present moment. Here's to you. It is good to be alive. Little story to begin. When my children were young, I had 4 in 6.5 years. So we had 4 kids under the age of 7 at one point, and then under the age of 8, and so forth and so on. And my house could get a little bit crazy. We had a house with 3 children next door, roughly the same age as my own, and 5 children across the street, again, roughly the same age as my own. So between the 3 houses next door and across the street, we had 12 kids between roughly the ages of, at any given time, 2 and 8, running through the house. We all 3 families homeschooled, and so it was kind of nonstop where we lived. Most of those years, I worked from home, either with my office physically in the house, or later on we converted our freestanding garage to an office and I worked from there. But nevertheless, I'm someone who prefers a peaceful and quiet home. And with a bunch of children running around, trying to get them to understand the concept of a peaceful and quiet home is a bit of a challenge. So I spent some time thinking about what I wanted to do with my kids to get them to, frankly, to behave the way I wanted to. And those of you who have children know that kids have an almost infinite number of ways to come up with behavior that you haven't directly addressed yet. If you say, don't stick a fork in the light socket, they might learn to obey that, and they'll come up with something else to stick in the light socket. And then don't stick anything in the light socket, and they'll figure out a way to stick things in other sockets. You cannot predict all the different types of behaviors you need to prohibit. And I realized that, and I wanted my children to be able to self-regulate. And so what I came up with was I needed to teach them the principles that I was after. And what I wanted in my home was a home where people conducted themselves in a way that kept the environment peaceable. Well, what did that mean to a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old? It was impossible to communicate. And that forced me, going from behavior to principles to what is the language and the ideas that my children can, first of all, understand, and then second, implement for themselves. They need to be able to understand what I want, and then they need to be able to judge for themselves whether or not they are in line with what I want for them. In other words, are they adopting my values? That's really what it boiled down to. And I came up with 3 words to describe to my children the types of behaviors that characterized what I wanted in my house. I told them calm, quiet, and slow. That way they could check themselves. Am I behaving in a calm manner? Most kids understood what calm meant. Am I being quiet? Most kids understand what quiet means. And am I moving? Is the speed of my movement slow? And that was very effective with my children. I could remind them calm, quiet, and slow. Simple words, not very many. They're able to self-regulate. As they made themselves adhere to the rules of calm, quiet, and slow, the effect in my house was it was peaceable the way I wanted it. So, what that means is that I was able to deliver to my children the kinds of behaviors that I wanted that were driven by the principles that mattered to me in a way that was age appropriate, they could understand, and they could self regulate. In the long term, this is so much better for the children. In the short term, I got what I wanted and they got what I needed, and they were able to regulate themselves according to my values. And then as they got older, they've been able to self-regulate with whatever values they have chosen. So, short term, in order to get what you want, you can either wear yourself out by trying to train every behavior you want into them and every behavior you don't want out, or you can train to principles so that the principles can cover as many of the types of behaviors that are good or not good as you want. Hope this helps. Looking forward to hearing comments and conversation about this. Go ahead and press subscribe there in the right-hand corner so that when you have weird things happen like today where I couldn't get the sound working, you get notified once it actually gets delivered. I'm Jack Heel, the dad you wish you had. We'll talk tomorrow.